I will say the way that these videos load up, I do like that little animus effect, like it's from Assassin's Creed, where it slowly loads up the world. But anyway, welcome back to another Let's Build video. Sorry for that little rant there. And as you can see, I went ahead and filled in the area with the crops that I wanted for this, which is all going to be wheat. And we started off building the farmhouse. Now this design took me a minute to actually do because this is like my first time working with non-square houses essentially. So the shape that you see is not something I'm really used to working with. On top of that, I did end up using like a palette that I wasn't entirely used to. I mean, I know, like I said, we're trying to keep this whole village simple, and using terracotta is something that's a part of the villages in Minecraft in some areas. So I went ahead and worked with that as well for this build. Now right here, I was trying to decide if I wanted the logs to go all the way down or not, but ultimately I decided with not, just because I know that's how these designs are. Just the log sits on top of the wood. It bugs me just a bit, but I'm not too mad with how this ended up looking in the end, because again, it's relatively simple for what I did, but it's not something that I'm too disappointed at. I mean, the hardest thing for this house was honestly the roofing, because I did a roofing style that I have never done before, so that was fun. And yeah, I really couldn't think of any decent farmhouse design, so I just went with the basic house design. Kind of just, this is where the farmer lives, kind of a house design, which makes sense, even though I did want to have it be more farmland based, I guess. I don't know, I'm still not disappointed with the way this looked, but right here, as you can see, trying to work with the different levels for the roofing was a bit of a pain. I mean, I did get to work in the end, but it's one of those things where just the way that I was doing this was kind of a pain, honestly. Because I don't know why I decided to go with this kind of style or anything. And I must say that the first style of roofing you see, if I remember correctly, looks really like some buildings in Japan. I can't really remember what the buildings are called, but the ones that have the roofs at the edges tilting upward, kind of like inclined upward. That's kind of what it started reminding me of as I was building this. But as I was building this roof, I wanted to do something different from what I normally do. See, like this, that's not like the Asian style houses, but I didn't really like that too much. Like, I wanted to give it more of a defining shape to the house, but I didn't like it. So I started experimenting with different things, like putting the stairs like that. And again, it's one of those things, like, it looked nice at the moment, but then the whole village looks like it's themed around Japanese architecture, and that's not what I wanted for this. I kind of wanted this to be more of something you would actually see in Minecraft. Now this part right here is where things got a little wonky for me, because I'm not used to building non-symmetrical roofs, and by that I mean making roofs that look like they have a certain shape. I wanted this roof to look really messy, like bulky, uneven, slabs and stairs and random places. Like, it still looks like a roof, but it doesn't look like a conventional roof, if you get what I'm saying. Because I mean, as you can see here, this is kind of like the shape I'm going with, and then I randomly cut out some bricks, put in some stairs, put in some more slabs, things of that nature, which makes the roofing look, it doesn't look as symmetrical, but it does look more, I feel like it looks nicer. So as you can see, I took out those pieces. It still kind of feels inspired by Asian architecture, if I'm being honest, and I kind of feel that way as well because of the color palette, but that wasn't really the goal. Although now that I'm looking at it, I might end up doing that for the rest of the village. Yeah, I don't know. At this point, I just felt that it looked kind of flat, so I was adding extensions to look like they were being supported up by those stairs, because I have seen some medieval architecture and there are those support beams that make the house bigger, but not from the base, it's from the top. So I thought it looked really nice, and then I'm just adding more stripes because I don't have any kind of texture pack that, when you're using like white terracottas or anything, makes it look like it has wood in there, like crisscrossing it. So I did end up trying to make that look myself, and when I did it this way, as you can see, I think it looks kind of ridiculous. So I went ahead and took it out and just did it with the stripes, because I didn't feel like that looked too bad. And then it's just a matter of filling in the glass, and I believe I used light gray glass just because I like the kind of shine that it had to it with this texture pack. I mean, the clear glass, well, not glass, or glass panes. The clear one, again, it's one of those things that looks really nice, but for this kind of a build, I wanted to get just the way that the sun glossed on it because of the shader looked great. Anyway, so here we are building the windmill. Now this is probably my favorite part of today's build, if I'm being honest, because I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Now this is my first actual windmill build in Minecraft, which again is, I'm sure, oh, gotta turn that off, as I'm sure some of you guys know. When I got back into Minecraft, I started uploading it all to YouTube, so a lot of what I do on there, you guys get to see, and I haven't built a windmill in ever. So here I'm just using different kind of techniques to make this look nice, because I didn't want to make I don't even know, it's kind of like a balcony porch area extend out too much farther just so I could add fencing. So I used acacia trap doors, which I thought looked really nice. It doesn't really blend in with the palette, but it's one of those things that just because of its design, I think it looks good. As you can see, I mean, honestly, I really do like that look. And from here I ended up using dark logs kind of to separate from I'm gonna call it a porch, I don't even know what it's called, but from the porch to this. And here I kind of did like an hourglass shape. Now this wasn't entirely intentional because I did kind of want it to be bigger, but the hourglass shape ended up looking really well for this, and it's something that I really liked. So that's kind of how I'm doing some builds now, is using hourglass structures, which I don't know, like I like the way it looks because it's not just a square. I mean, as you can see, it has a nice look to it. Now again, the same thing with this roof as I did with the roof for the farmhouse. I wanted it to look messy, like the top was uneven and all that jazz, but I did want at least the border of it at the base to look decent. Because I mean, things started out looking relatively symmetrical, but then I started adding a little bit more. This is like, I don't really know how to explain other than it's just one of those, like, I like the way this roof turned out more than I like the other one, just because of how this comes off. I mean, it's smaller, so I feel like it's a lot easier to do, and just all in all, it doesn't even look too bad. Because I mean, looking at it this way, it still looks like it has some symmetry, but kind of like some area collapsed a little bit. It's not bad. Now for the actual windmill, I started off with the birch log, but I ended up going with the spruce. I figured I'm using a lot of spruce, honestly, and I feel like it's a texture pack. But the hard part for me was actually figuring out how to do I don't know what you'd call them, the things on the windmill that make it turn. I feel like calling them wings, but I feel like that's wrong. And because originally I did this design and I liked it, but then I tried replicating it in other areas, and I didn't like how that was looking. On top of that, I kind of felt like it looked really thick, and I wasn't too big a fan of it. So I did experiment with different designs as I was building it. As you can see, like this, they don't even look like they're turning the same direction, which is why I ended up getting rid of it. I still liked that first design, so I tried to make things work around it, but I just couldn't seem to get any design to work in the way that I wanted to. So I mean, it looked decent, but then it looked too bulky, and then I don't know, I just didn't like it. What I did end up liking is, I believe it's this one right here that I'm working on. The way this one turned out, because it's a nice and simple design. It doesn't even look bad, and it's something that I feel is easily replicatable. As you can see, I mean, look at that compared to the original wing design that I had. To me, that looks a lot better. So I ended up redoing that up here, well, of course right there first, because it's just a mirror image, so it's a lot easier to do than anywhere else. And then from there, it was just kind of trying my best to make this fit everywhere else, which wasn't too hard, but it was a bit of a pain because of the angles. Everything has to look like it's spinning the right way, and then that means you have to twist things in certain directions. I don't know, it looks kind of unnatural, but it doesn't look bad. Just from here, it just goes on to add, I went ahead and added the spruce fencing to look like the things were being supported with something. So that's typically what you see with an actual windmill. So it gives it a nice dimension to it, so it looks really nice. And it's one of those things where it's just little details that make the build feel more alive that I really like. So I mean, look at that, that looks a lot better than it did originally. And I'll just right here just went ahead and added something for the centerpiece where the whole thing rotates. And that was kind of just adding things like the grinder to go ahead and make it, I don't know, I just like the way that looked because it looks like it's holding everything back to keep it from falling out. And I don't know, to me it's just a nice look. From here I just started taking out pieces and adding in like spruce logs to break up the visuals like I did with the stairs in my other build, so that way it could look a lot better. And just so it doesn't look too bland, which again, same thing with the bases. Instead of just using straight up cobblestone, I also ended up doing different things like andesite, mossy cobblestone, and polished andesite, just because of like the way that that looks visually. And it's one of those things where even a slight change in texture makes it look more visually appealing. So you can see I'm really proud with the way that this looked. Again, this is the point where the replay mod didn't let me do anything past the 30-minute mark, but right here we ended up going back and working with the support beams for our bridge. And I did do a design that I feel pretty good about because it's nice and simple, but when you see them all together, it looks really nice. And it's one of those things that's so easy to replicate. It's really difficult as to say why not do it. And with the kind of limited space that I had in this area, it looked really nice. And just in case, I went ahead and built it all the way to the seafloor. It's kind of, I don't know, I just don't like leaving things at the surface because I feel like if I go underwater, I'm going to see it and it just breaks the immersion for me. But at this point, I'm just replicated everything to make sure it looks good. Because I mean, if we see it from over here, you can see that it looks a lot better. Just the way the entire thing is set up. It's visually a lot more attractive. It looks a lot better. And yeah, I mean, really not much else to say about it other than those support beams. Because I mean, look at that. That just looks amazing. Straight up visually, that is gorgeous. And it's such a simple design that I felt really good about it. Now this next part, I am not gonna lie, I am not too happy with it all. I feel like I might end up tearing this whole thing down. And that is the lighthouse, because I did want to build a lighthouse in this area, seeing as we have a large body of water here, as well as a dock. But I went with the lighthouse first, and I wasn't too happy with my design, if I'm being honest, because I did start off trying to do the hourglass shape like I did for the windmill. But the problem here was that I didn't like the way that it was looking, because it was going to give the top a really heavy look, and I wasn't too fond about it. And even on top of that, I really don't like the blocks that I use for it, just because it looks really bland to me. Like, it needs more texture, like difference in texture, because as of right now, everything else, I'm sure you can see it from right here, like the windmill has different textures at its base. This thing is essentially, as of right now, all cobblestone, and to me that just looks, I hate it because it just doesn't look good visually. I mean, the design itself isn't bad, and it's, again, for a simple village, it's something that isn't bad at all. But it's one of those things where, I don't know, I just don't like it too much, because I like the way it was taking shape at first, right? Going from thick to thinner, all the way to thinner, and then it was going to go thicker to the top, and then the top was going to be where the lighthouse was. But I didn't like the way that ended up looking, so I ended up just building this up, and from there kind of just putting the lighthouse on top of it. I did want this to be the tallest structure in the area, so I did stretch this out higher than I would have liked, just so it could be taller than the windmill. And from there, everything is just kind of putting the glowstone on. And I know, simple village, but the glowstone is one of those things where you don't have to power it, so I didn't feel bad about using it. And from right here, it's just a matter of choosing what kind of glass to use. I tried white glass panes, didn't really like them. See, the light gray, I liked that one, and the clear ones didn't look good at all, so I went ahead and did the light gray all the way around. Now the roofing for this one, I can't remember if I did something messy or not. I feel like I did, actually, similar to the windmill and the farmhouse. And I mean, as you can see, like, it's not a bad design. I'm not too fond of how it looks up close, because from afar it does look good, and it kind of fits in with everything. It's a nice feature that stands out, kind of breaks the skyline. It's not bad. I'm just not too fond of the way the blocks that I use for it is what I mean. Because I honestly feel like I can do a lot better. And I mean, the roof, really, really simple. I feel like I use a lot of planks for that one. Well, half slabs, whatever you call them. And yeah, at this point, I'm just kind of breaking things out to try to add more texture to it. Because like I said, I'm not too happy with just building with one style of block. I want it to look weathered. I want it to look worn. And so I started using things like stairs, slabs, and all that. But let's just go ahead and take a quick look inside the farmhouse, because I mean, look at this. I just love this visual, because it's one of those things where I feel like whenever you see certain things with certain structures with farmhouses and windmills, there's a huge wheat field right next to it or right over it, covering everything, and it just looks gorgeous. And honestly, I was trying to go for that fill, and I feel like I should have maybe added an extra layer to the farm to make the wheat field look like kind of like it's on a little sort of a hill type structure, right? But I wasn't too disappointed. I mean, again, you can see the stairs that I'm using there to make it look like it's missing bricks, and blocks are kind of like chipped and whatever. Just little things like that that actually make the whole structure work. So let's go ahead and take another look at it from afar. See, and you can even see them from a distance, which to me is visually appealing because, again, it looks weathered, it looks like it's been there a while, and it looks like it's been alive. So again, altogether though, I don't know, I'm kind of coming around to it. I'm just not too happy with the actual design. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, well, I hope you guys stick around for the next part. I think next time we're going to be working on the church, which was early, as you can see part of it early in the video, but I didn't work on it. And honestly, I'm kind of happy with how that turns out. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. See ya.